it's wrong like that.
Okay, no issue. So, Aisa, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, still you are alone, or is there anybody else?
Yeah, they know everyone, but many of them, 13 students, know their classes are going on. But why they are not attending, I don't. Because
So,
there is no break in between.
yeah,
Maybe that's the problem.
uh, that
So,
could be the reason. Yeah.
15 minutes break is there before my classes on my other course.
Okay. So, shall we wait for a few minutes more, or shall we start?
It's your wish.
Let's wait up
Maybe
to.
we should wait 5 minutes and start.
Yeah. Let's wait for 5 minutes more. Okay.
Okay.
Is my PPT visible to you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Screen is visible.
Okay. So, do you have any question you can ask me from the last class as well? If you have any doubt, query.
No, no. If I have, I will ask.
Okay. Sure. Fine.
Because I am not added in the official group, WhatsApp MA group. I don't
Okay.
know what's going on, what's the information, what's the timetable and all. But just I am checking online
Yeah,
website.
this is the perfect time because the schedule has been already given to you, isn't that? That when your classes are going to conduct, your meeting ID is also given, passwords are also given. Okay. But I do not have any idea about the WhatsApp group. Okay. So for that, you can contact with the HOD possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe many of them are not sure about this classes. Only 14, 13 students attended.
Mm, okay.
I kept alarm. That's why I have attended. Otherwise, I would have forgotten.
Okay. So, but you have a continuous 8 classes in all the weekends, in this weekend and upcoming weekend. So, so how can you forget? Yeah? Or maybe it is congested classes, isn't that? It is started from
It's
10:30
continuous.
and
Tomorrow also is there. This class.
mhm, the congested classes. Okay. But yeah, that's also fine because you are just going to attend few classes only in a weekend, isn't that?
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday every.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday, and only just for 1 month, possibly. 8 classes are there for all subjects. If you have 5 subjects, so you just have to attend all the 8 classes of each 8 subjects or each papers. Yeah. So this is my second class of this paper. Okay. There will be 6 remaining classes after this.
Okay.
Yeah. And the timing is also same. So did you read or go through the
One more student joined Madhuri.
another one?
One more student joined Dr. K.R. Madhuri.
Madhuri ma'am is okay. She's the HOD of the department.
Acha.
Yeah. Okay, so let's begin. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Continue.
Okay, just a minute. Let me share my screen. So- Okay, so in the last class, we were talking about the differences between animal language and human language. Okay, and in that we had almost finished that top units, and there were some of the differences that we didn't cover due to time management. Okay, so
Yes.
let's complete it, and we left it from displacement. Okay, the displacement is also a characteristics that we find. Okay, that we find in human communication system. Okay, not in the system of the animal communication. So what do you mean, or what do we actually mean by displacement? Displacement actually refers to the property of language which is to be displaced either in space or time. It means actually that okay, when we ourselves displace and traveling in a time machine as it were out of here and now into the far away and long ago. So let me give you some example. Okay, so how displacement actually happens in communication. Okay, so it actually simply talks about that okay, human beings has that capability of okay thinking about a thing that has happened in the past. Okay, and also can think about something that is going to be in future, or we can also think about a aspect, okay, one aspect that is going in actually
Sir,
happening right.
what's the page number,
It's page number 18, page
18.
16, okay, or in book.
Yeah.
Okay, let me check it. In unit number 2, page number, yeah, 20.
Okay. Thank
Yeah, in page number 20 you will find it there. Okay,
you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. So so displacement means simply that okay, it is the quality of thinking or meditating or speculating about a thing that we haven't seen, or that has gone far away in our past, or that has not happened yet. Okay, or something that is happening not in front of us. So we have such kind of capability. Okay, we can meditate on our past, we can think about our future, we can also think about what is happening right now in any other places apart from the place where I am right now. Okay, so this is the quality is called displacement that we find in human communication, but we cannot find this in animal communication. Why? Because they cannot think that, like as for example I have mentioned here, like a cat cannot talk about her grandmother. Okay, so they do not actually think about such kind of things. They do not actually have that faculty of thinking like human beings. So they do not actually subscribe this characteristic, that is displacement. Okay, so and also they cannot make a plan for future or family, what humans do. Okay, so the next characteristics or next difference that we find in animal and human communication is stimulus freedom. Okay, so stimulus freedom, stimulus means a kind of response towards a particular action. Okay, so are you getting me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so stimulus, yeah. So stimulus freedom here is a kind of characteristics that we also find, okay, in human communication. Why? Because in animal communication, stimulus bound. Okay, so animal communication is stimulus bound means when there will be an action, when there will be a kind of need, only then the animals actually react to that things. Okay, so I also have mentioned it here, like it takes place only when there is a presence or occurrence of some stimulus or other. As for example, mooing is a response to hungriness. Okay, mooing means when a cow actually moves is a kind of response to hungriness. It could be a response to other things as well. So when, until and unless we have a uh, stimulus or a kind of action, we do not give kind of response in animal communication. But human language is stimulus free. As for example, uh, we can give several other responses going outside of the context. Okay, as for example I have mentioned here that Leela, one character, is saying that, okay, how do you like my new dress? Now Mala, the other character, is saying that, okay, where did you buy it? Instead of saying that, okay, I like your dress, it's very beautiful, what she is again asking is that, where did you buy it? What was the cost? So instead of you know staying in the context, we can also go ahead and talk about that. So that's why we are not stimulus bounded like the animals. Okay,
Yes, sir.
yeah, the next point is specialization. Okay, specialization actually it deals with the physical involvement and non-involvement while doing communication. Okay, now one thing is that in human communication this specialization is not required. Sorry, yeah, it's not required because we human beings can talk about a thing even though we are not involving in that particular thing. Okay, sometimes we meditate, sometimes we are here but physically, but our mind is somewhere else. Okay, so in such cases, while watching TV or talking to someone else in phone, we can also communicate with others, isn't that? So that is what is called the non-involvement. Okay, so we do not have to involve. But in case of animal communication, the animals are supposed to involve in the communication because at a time they can give one single response. Okay, so that's why they have to be involved in that particular communication. That's why here I mentioned that animals remain completely physically involved during the act of communication. Okay, another
Yes,
one
sir.
is open-endedness. That is again the same thing that I talked about in the above characteristic, that is specialization. Okay, so animals doesn't have open-endedness. That means they have some fixed signs and signals which have a very specific meaning, and they doesn't involve in any making in the making of new signs or signals. But on the other hand, humans have that capacity. Okay, that capacity is already there in our brain, and we can create n number of word, phrases, sentences in any type of situation. Okay, so that's what is called open-endedness that human beings have, but the animals doesn't have. Okay,
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so this was left from our last unit. Okay, so let's move to the third unit of the block one. Okay, because from the first 10 units are little lengthy and they needs discussion. After that, the units are little short and they're more practical than theoretical. So that's why we need more time to focus on this. After that, we will do that easily. And once I will finish 10th units, okay, the later units will be easy to cover and we can cover 5 units a day at the time. Okay, so you do not have to be worried that okay how we will complete the course. We will complete it by the way. So the third unit of block one is the evolution of language. Okay, now so far we have talked about what? In first unit, what did we talk about? We talk about what is language and why do we study it, isn't that?
Yes.
Then in second unit we talked about language and other systems of communication. That
Organs of
was,
speech, classification of sound.
yeah,
No, no.
yes, yes,
Sorry. Language and other
language and
systems
other
of
systems.
communication.
Yeah. So in language and other systems, we talk about human language, we talk about Morse code, we talk about other languages as well as animal language, and we made a explicit comparison between these two languages. Okay. And now we are moving to the uh, th-
Evolution of language.
third unit, that is the evolution of language. So how did the first question that should become that should come in our mind is how did language originate? What was the time when language first came into this world? Or how did it actually evolve? What were the first language? Was it English or any other language? Okay. Who
Yes.
were the first human beings? Okay, who got this beautiful thing that is called language? So these are some of the questions when we are going to deal with the evolution of language may pop up into our mind. The first question is how did language originate? Okay. Now one thing is that okay, we do not actually know because we do not have any record, written record or any proof. We didn't have the technology at the time when the earth was actually begun, isn't that? So we haven't any kind of record regarding anything, whether it is about the species, it is about the human beings, the evolution of human beings, evolution of other animals, plants, and any other things, and including language. So as we don't have anything, so what we can do is that we just have theories, and these theories are based on some speculations, okay, and not any conclusions. So that's why we can say that theories about the origin of language are abounded. So there are many theories regarding how the language was actually evolved. But major difficulty lies in finding out reliable evidence. Okay. So as I said that okay, it is not even possible to find out reliable evidence that okay, what was the first language, how the language was evolved, how it actually originated. Even we cannot think about our, you know, uh, ancestors, okay, who were our ancestors. Who, if we will go back 5 generations back, we will not able to find out, okay, because we hadn't any kind of requirement to know that, to understand that. So when we are going to talk about a language and its history and its origin, it may be originated when God first sent human beings, or human beings were created in this world. Okay, so along with human beings, animals, language is also evolved, and it is not a easy thing to find out because it happened some 1 lakh 2 lakhs years ago. Okay, and
Yes.
human beings didn't made any kind of scientific development at the time as we have right. So that's why it is very difficult to find out the reliable evidence to come to a conclusion that okay, on this date uh, the language actually evolved. Okay. Now we are simply talking about all languages. We are not specifying any particular language like English, Hindi, or Telugu. Okay. So language is consisted of writing and speech. Okay, obviously language is consisted of both writing and speech. Speech means speaking,
Yes,
and
sir.
write, and yes,
No, no, nothing.
okay. But some languages exist only in speech and some in written. Okay, so language is a combination of written form and oral form, obviously. But in some cases, some languages only in use, and they are only in use in speech. Okay, so they are they are existing only in oral form. They do not have any scripture, they do not have any written form. So there are many such languages. Okay, and there are also some languages which are also there in written form, but they are not part of our day-to-day communication. As for example, we can say about an Indian language, classical Indian language, that is Sanskrit itself. Sanskrit language is there only in written form. Okay, we use that language? No, we use that language only in case of some religious performances. Okay,
Delver,
so
are you there? Can you listen to me?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, keep one slide at a time, not the series of slides, right? I can see Ayesha and Ishrat is here, and keep only one slide. Why this is kind of it's a completely it's scrolling. Can you keep one slide at a time? It is like 3 slides are visible here.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Split that into so that there is no need to read it. Let them see in a bigger form. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
ma'am. Just
Aisha, any point of time have you come to the online class? Aisha Mohammed Khan.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I can't hear your clear voice.
Can you listen to me?
Yes, yes, I am. I'm hearing it.
Yeah, you came to any Sunday class? Offline class, Aisha?
Yeah, voice is somewhat not hearing.
You came to
Uh,
the university any point of time, Aisha? Can you listen to me?
yeah, I can listen you, but it's something voice problem is there. No? Yeah, yes, ma'am. Say.
Okay, so you came to the class any point of time?
Yeah, yeah. From morning I was there in the class.
No, not online. I'm speaking on offline classes.
No, ma'am. I am not. I don't know about offline class, so I didn't attend it
Okay,
because
are you from Hyderabad? You are from
we all.
Hyderabad? Are you from Hyderabad, Aisha?
Ma'am, your voice is breaking, ma'am.
I can listen to you properly. Are you from Hyderabad?
Yes, yes, ma'am. I am from Hyderabad.
Okay, so you have submitted your assignments?
Yeah, I submitted. Yeah.
Okay. Dilawar, go ahead. Go ahead,
okay,
Dilawar.
okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, so we were talking about the evolution of language, and we said that okay, language is consisted of both oral form and written form. Okay, so in some cases we find some languages which are there only in oral form, and some languages are there in written form.
Dilawar,
As
switch
yes,
on
ma'am.
your video as well, if possible. Switch on your video.
Okay.
I can listen to you as well as watch you, because that is the kind of teaching methodology that we always follow. Already it is an online, we may not be able to. We don't need students to have the video, but for you it is important, because we can see the counselor as well whenever you are there interacting. They get connected as well. Okay, please switch on your video.
Mom, it is on already, but I don't know why it's not visible. The video is on, ma'am.
Video is on, but you are not opened your camera.
Yeah, it's also on, ma'am.
Okay, take help of any technical people if you have some idea, and go on with your next class. At least try that. Okay, you should
Okay,
be visible like I am visible here, right? I'm visible and I'm able to see you.
yeah, you are visible, but I am unable to see you again.
Yeah, maybe some problem with your technology.
Yeah, it
I
could be,
want the
but
video to be there. I want the
o-
video to be there along with PPT. That
okay,
will be
ma'am.
more motivated to the student. That's the reason.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, tomorrow
Okay,
onwards you try to do that. Not
okay, ma'am.
without video. I need the video to be on.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
go ahead.
okay. Yeah, so some languages which existed only in form of orals, and some languages only in form of writings. Okay, so as I gave an example, that Sanskrit is such a language that only existed in written form, and we use that language, especially the Indians, in case of some prayers and in case of some readings of some religious, aspects and cognitions. Okay, so we do not have actually any written document about when a particular language actually evolved. But sometimes scholars and researchers find that and make some kind of speculative guesses like that written records are available on earlier than 6,000 years ago, and from the writings of Sumerians of the 4,000 BC. So here BC means before Christ, and Sumerians were a kind of, you can say that, a civilization that was a Sumerian civilization, and from their writings, from their scriptures, the scholars has found that okay, that language could have originated some around 6,000 years ago. Okay, and some scholars also believe that it evolved in between 1 lakh to 50,000 BC, that is before Christ. Okay, and it is a field of inquiry. And as I already have mentioned that okay, that how did language originate or evolve? This question is a very big question, and that's how researchers actually investigating on this till now. And that's why they sometimes used to say that okay, this is a very big question and tough question where we have only inquiry. Okay, and where we have only speculations, we do not have any particular conclusions that okay, on that day or on that particular date or era, okay, that particular language evolved and that was the first language, this was the second language. So we do not have such kind of things at all. There are more conjecture, that means hypotheses are there than certainty. We do not have any certain clues that okay, this is how that language originate. Okay, and there was one such scholar or writer who proposed that okay, John Webb, a 17th century writer, who proposed that Chinese was the first language. And he said this because he believed that this language was spoken by Noah, that one of the prophets. Okay, so he was speaking in this language, and his family was also using this particular language, that is Chinese. And on that basis, he said that okay, Chinese could be the first language of the world. But this theory was nothing but a kind of guess, kind of you can say that uh, you can say like a perception that he felt. Okay, so it's not true actually scientifically. Okay, and however, all such speculations end with the publication of Darwin's Origin of the Species. So when Charles Darwin published his book, that is on the origin of species, he talked about the evolution of human beings, how we actually evolved from some chimpanzees or some gorillas. Okay, so we evolved through several stages. Okay, and right now we are in this state of human beings. So that is how also language could have evolved along with the evolution of human beings. And that is what actually actually shaped the entire world and all the views that had made earlier before 1859. So earlier people believed that language could have the origin, and they believe that okay, that have a divine origin as well. Okay, but right now after this publication of this book, people used to think very scientifically and systematically. Okay,
Yes.
yeah. The now theories about the origin of language. Now there are so many theories. Okay, and all such theories before this scientific doctrine, all these theories are actually based on religious beliefs. Okay, the religious peoples. Okay, it could be of any religion. It could be of Hinduism. It could be of Buddhism. It could be a Christianity, Islam, and so on. Okay, so all the religious persons actually believed that language has a divine origin. As God has created the entire world, He has also created language along with human beings. Okay, He has given the power to human beings to use their mental faculties to produce sounds, to create uh, meaningful words, to express their feelings, their thoughts, and so many other things. Isn't that? So in separate, separate in religions, there are some separate views. Okay, so in Hinduism, a Hindu people believes that okay, the universe is created by Brahma and the language by Saraswati. Okay, some in Egyptian considered that thought to be the creator of language. Christians believe that God is the creator of human being as well as the entire world and the language. Okay, so these are some of the theories, but we do not have any scientific theory at all that okay, this was how the language actually evolved. Even though uh, we actually scientifically try to think, because linguistics and scientists are almost follow the same procedures to find out their things. They do not believe in speculations, they only believe in truth and evidence. So they are trying to find out, but still we do not have any kind of proof regarding that. Okay, now coming to the next slide, that is the first language. Now as we said that okay, we are still unable to find out that when did and how did the language evolve. So how we will be able to find out that which was the first language in the world? Is it possible to find out that this was the first language? Okay, now if someone will ask you, and as you are a Muslim, so what you will do is that you will say that okay, uh, uh and leave that thing, your religion. If you are from Hyderabad, you will simply say that okay, my language is either Urdu and Telugu. Okay, so that could be the language of the uh, first language of the world, because you will have some biasness, you will have some kind of subjective inferences that will uh, you know you know uh, force you to say that okay, this could be the first language. But this is how we actually get some kind of speculations and conjectures, but we do not have certainty, we do not have any particular conclusion regarding what was the first language. Okay, so there are many speculations and postulations about the first language. One such is the belief that the divine origin of language. One is that language was actually created by God, and it was God who has actually created all the world and the human beings. So several experiments have been done so far to reach to final conclusion, but all these experiments are mere speculations and not a scientific conclusion. So there are some of the experiments that were made at the time, and there uh, one of them is that is the Egyptian experiment. Okay, now what is this Egyptian experiment? There was a king of Egypt, okay, who once ordered a servant, maybe a servant, and he gave that servant two little small kids, okay, those who didn't ever speak. Okay, so they were very little kids, okay, newborn babies, and he ordered the servant to go somewhere in a very secluded place so that he could understand that okay, what is the first word or first thing that the child actually pronounced. And in that he make a condition to the servant that okay, you do not have to pronounce a single word of your own language. So in that way, in that way, uh, uh, he took these babies and spent some times or some years there when they actually become capable of speaking. And what the word they used to say is, once these kids, once they said that bekos you know in Egyptian language, that is bekos, and it simply means bread in one of the dialect of Egyptian languages. So what we here got to know that uh, the the conclusions are made here like this, that that servant could have sometimes used this word, okay, even though he was also a man. Okay, so he can't completely make himself dumb when though he has language with him. So he could have mistakenly used this word, and that's how the kids actually got to know about this one, and they pronounced that, or they uttered that word. So this is how German experiments was also there. Okay, so in German there was also an experiment such that, and all these experiments are actually biased, okay, because we can't prove this. Okay, we can't do this right now, even though such kind of experiments are going to made in the present day, that will also be fallible. Okay, so if there was only one language at the beginning, then why there are several language families? Okay, so this is the question that may come after getting such kind of explanation about the first language. Okay, now why such kind of families are there? Now, why they are there? Let move to the second stanza, and then we will talk about the families later in the upcoming 2 or 3 stages. Okay. Now there are some of the puzzles as well in the growth of language. Okay. Now what are the puzzles? Okay, that has also been not solved yet. But sometimes when we study linguistics only, especially applied linguistics, we can give some kind of systematic explanation of all these puzzles. Okay, so linguistics, like most scientists, do not accept anything without proof. That's what I already mentioned, that linguistics and scientists used to find out any particular uh, conclusion based on truths, based on evidence. Okay, so hence they do not subscribe to the divine origin of language. Thus, the linguist as well the scientist do not believe that language has a divine origin. That means it was being created by God Himself. Okay, so in this scientific study of the origin of language, there are several puzzles which have no clear answer. They are: number one, did thought precede language or follow it? Now, there is a deep relationship between language and thought. Now, you might have surprised that, okay, which one came first? Was it the thought that is there in my mind, or was it the language? So, if there is no language in the mind, how that thought can be actually spoken out? Okay, if you have any thought regarding anything, okay, how will you express that? With language. Now, if you do not have any language at all, how that thought can come into your mind? So this is a big puzzle that came into our mind. Okay, that thought precede language or follow it? Which one came first? Was it thought or was it language? Okay, are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's a kind of confusional thing. It's a kind of puzzle that hasn't been solved yet. Okay, but if you will go through linguistics and if you will go to study the theories that has been given by Noam Chomsky, the greatest linguist of the world right now. He's also alive. And if you will go through the 20th century theories given by Ferdinand de Saussure, you will get to know that okay, it is the mental faculty that has been given God itself. Okay? Because if you will go to learn about how a language is learned by a child, or how the child actually picks up a language, so when you will go through this study, you will got to know that okay, yeah, obviously there is a universal grammar that has been put into our mind by Almighty Himself, isn't that? If that capability won't be there, how are we producing as much sentences, as much you know way we can? Okay, so there are some fixed rules in grammars in all the languages, but based on situations, based on demands, we can produce n number of sentences, n number of phrases. Okay, so that is what is the capability. Because when a child actually picks up a language, when he or she learns in the beginning of his life, what he did or does is that she or he actually imitates the person who remain around him or her. And in that imitation process, what she used to do is that she actually learns the vocabs first, the manner they used to speak, and all these things actually happen. But did any mom or any parents, okay, ever teach their newborn babies that okay, this is how you have to speak, this is how you have to say this sentence? How did he actually picks up all the sentences? It is nothing but the way, because he has already given some mental faculties, and it is the process of practicing imitation, okay, listening, then carefully trying to speak that. So this is how actually language comes into being, because we have already a mental faculty that can produce language. Okay, so this is the belief of some of the theories, and given by Noam Chomsky as well as Ferdinand de Saussure. So there is some other question, that other puzzles, like did language origin like an amoeba? Okay, so like an amoeba, as science believes that okay, uh, amoeba is a kind of one particular cell. Okay, it's amoeba is a kind of animal, you can say, insect, you can say. It has life. So it was an amoeba, an organism which has only one cell. So gradually this amoeba, become more and more complex with the evolution of organism with a large number of cells. Okay, and this is how actually other creatures or other insects has actually come into being. So this is how people sometimes also ask this question that okay, language could have also come from a single word, a single syllable, and this is how actually we learn the particular language. And now right now the languages that we have actually it has also originated from one particular word, one particular cell or word or syllable. Okay, there is another puzzle, that is, did spring into life sorry did it means did language spring into life all of a sudden like a rabbit out of a magical hat? Okay, so what it means actually that, or sometimes people also ask that okay, there could have a wizard, okay, who plays magic. So as a wizard, actually shows us that okay, from a magical hat a rabbit will come out. So like that, maybe language has also spring out, okay, into life, okay, all of a sudden. So these are some of the questions, some of the puzzles that have no answers at all right now. Okay, so let's move on the next slide. That is uh,
Sir, where did you got this all from?
hmm?
This is from your internet. You search this.
Which one?
This all notes. Where did you got this from?
No, I didn't, search internet
Just
mostly, because most of the times I am actually going through the book that is there also with you. Okay, all these things are mentioned in the book that has been given to you. In some cases there needs some kind of extra explanation, so for that I go through Wikipedia or some other books that I have. Okay, yeah. So what I'm finding here is that there is a misarrangement of slides. Okay, okay, let's first take this slide. Okay, the rise of language families. Now maybe this one. Okay, let's take this as well. Okay, so how did the language actually evolve? We are in confusion still now, but there are some puzzles as well, that okay, whether thought came first or the language came first, whether it actually grows like an amoeba or it springs out like a wizard's magic. So we have so many confusions, we have so many uh, speculations, but we do not have any certain conclusion. But yet these speculations are also going to help us to make a broad understanding about the evolution of language. But as there is no one language, but how then there are so many languages in the world, and why do they belong to a particular family of language? Okay, so this is a question that could come right now, and obviously there are some of the answers, because any two language could have some similarities based on several things, based on phonological, syntactical, based on sound patterns, word stress, and so many other things. So one such example I have made over here to make it clear that okay, this is the reason why we have some families of languages. Okay, as for example, you can take English and German have great similarities in words and conveying meaning, such as take it here like English words and German words, though it is not rightly placed over here. So English word like 1, 2, 3, 4, but in German you will see that correspondingly one in German it will be Anis, two it's Jewy, three it's Drey, and four it's fire. Okay, so thus both these languages are genetically means biologically, you can say that. Okay, so they are inherently related and belong to one language family. It could be Indo-European language family. Okay, so these are the reasons why we actually put them or branched them out into a particular language family. Got it?
Yes, sir.
I just have showed one relation, okay, that there could be some words which have similar, words in other language, though it means something else. As for example, take some Indian languages, okay. What do you say in Telugu? Pani. Pani. What do you say in Telugu? Water. In English, in Hindi, it will be Pani. It Bengali, it could be Jal. In Telugu, it could be Niru, I think. Okay. So these are the some of the words, like, okay. So one word and other word, okay, from one language to other language shows a kind of link, shows a kind of relationship, because all the Indian languages are somehow, evolved from one family or two families. Okay, South Indian languages evolved from one family, that is uh, Indo-Aryan, and then Indo Dravidian languages. But North Indian languages came from Indo-Aryan. Okay, sorry, Indo-Iranian languages. So we will look over that slightly in the next slide. Okay. So here I have mentioned that as human beings evolved from the primates, okay, and as they spread themselves all over the earth, they also developed several languages, okay, and all these languages belong to. Okay, so as human beings actually evolved from their primates. Primates means the people, those were the ancestor. You can say the very first ancestors. Similarly, they also have evolved, and along with that, they also developed their languages, and all these languages actually belong to a parent group. Okay, parent group means there will also be some ancestor of all the languages, and that ancestors are called actually parent or proto, okay, of that particular language group. So in a proto or parent language, there could be many languages. Okay, as for example, Sanskrit is one of the parent language, out of which we have so many languages in India, especially in the North India, like Hindi is there, then Jharkhandi is there, Bengali is there, okay, Punjabi is also there. So all such languages actually come from that particular parent group, that is Sanskrit. Okay. So similarly, we will find some families as well in all the Indo-European languages and other languages as well. Okay. So during the 18th and 19th century, historical study of language began and reached its peaks. Okay. Now, this 18th and 19th century, there was a study called philology. Philology means it is a study of language based on several things, like it could be on comparative study. Okay, it could be a phonological study. So based on that, we have several names. So here we are going to talk about comparative philology. Okay, in comparative philology, actually we study and comparison of languages with a view to establishing a relationship among languages. Okay, as I have shows an example over here. So this is what actually is done, okay, in comparative philology. Okay, now see the diagram of language families. It's just one diagram of Indo-European family. Okay, so this is how actually languages come from a parent group or parent proto. Okay, proto families. Okay, so Indo-Iranian. In Indo-Iranian, we have Indic and Iranian. Indic means there are two languages have been shown over here, though there are also other languages as well, like Hindi, Urdu, Persian. Then we have Balto-Slavic. It is made up of Baltic and Slavic. In Baltic we have Leviathan. In Slavic we have West Slavonic, Polish. Then we have Serbo, Croatian, East Slavonic, Russian, and then we have Germanic as well. Okay. In Germanic we will find our present language, that is English. Okay. In West Germanic especially, from West Germanic we have Frisian, Anglo-Frisian, and some other languages. Then we have Dutch, and then English as well. So this is how actually languages originated from. And we find this kind of families only because of some similarities and some comparative, aspects that we find in either of these languages. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, okay, how languages actually differ? This question can also come after the study of the language families. Okay, because the language families are based on these things only, the differences or the similarities among languages. Okay, so language differ from other languages at three levels. One is phonological, another one is syntactic, another one is lexis. Okay, phonological means there will be sound, word order, or there will be the word stress. Then syntactic means there will be the structure, grammatical functions, and lexis means words. Okay, and all above all these things we have already discussed in slide number 8. Okay, in unit 1 we have already discussed about that, and I gave some examples like, okay, in Hindi, take the first one, that is phonological. Okay, in Hindi we simply say that mantri, isn't that mantri? So this word mantri has two syllables and we do not put any kind of stress over here. But if you will say it in English, there will be three syllables like minister. Okay, so here we have to put a particular stress on a particular syllable that is in the middle, isn't that minister? Okay, so here this is the difference. Okay, so these are the difference. One is phonological. So this is what is called phonological difference when we talk about what is stress. Okay, what sounds pattern. So as we are talking about written things, so we are not going to deal with sound pattern. We will talk about that in later units because we have to study that as well. Syntactic means there should be some grammatical, differences. Like I also had given an example that the boy killed the tiger. This is a particular word order, isn't that English actually follow? But in Hindi language, we can make it in several ways, even though the meaning will not change. Okay, like शेर ने लड़के को मारा, लड़के ने शेर को मारा, मारा लड़के ने शेर को. Okay, so all these sentences in Hindi, the meaning is almost same. There is no changes of the meaning. But when we are talking about that particular thing in English, if you will change it, if you will change the word order, the meaning will also change. Okay, so that's why English follows a particular word order, and other languages, especially the second languages in India, we do not have that one. Okay, we have multiple word orders. Okay, in some cases, yes.
No, sir, not.
Hmm. So in some cases, some words are also different from one another. Sometimes a word of a particular language has no relation to other languages. So that could also be a kind of differences from one languages. But yes, however, there are some of the aspects of all the languages that can be found in all the languages. That could be the structures. Okay, like there are some languages which follows a particular word order like subject verb object, and some languages which follows a particular word order like a verb subject and object. So these are some of the phenomena, and there are some other phonetic and syntactic, morphological signs that are there in all the languages, and you will find that in all the languages throughout the world. And that's how are the we can say that, okay, these are the qualities of language universal. Okay, these are the quality of a language universals. Okay, even after there are some differences, there are certain similarities can be found in all languages. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
okay, so we have talked about the language families. Yeah, now let's move on to the next unit, that is the evolution of English. The evolution of English. Okay, well, this is the fourth unit of block 1, that is the evolution of English. Okay, until and unless we had a knowledge about what is language, how did language evolve, we cannot study a particular language. Okay, so till now we had the study, we studied about, or we talked about, we discussed about the language in a complete entity. Here now we are going to talk about a particular and specific language, that is English. How did actually this English language evolve? Okay, all the questions that we put when studying language, we can also put all these questions over here studying English language. Okay, now there are some of the histories that we have to no over here. Okay, I haven't mentioned anything, or I haven't mentioned here in a written form. Okay, I just have mentioned the main topics that what we have to study over here. Let me discuss them one by one clearly. Okay, it will be very easy to understand. Okay, so the first question that should come in our mind, that early history of Britain again, that who were the early speakers of English and where did they live? If this question is there in your mind regarding the evolution of language, English language, then we have to go through all the points that I made over here. That is arrival of Celts, arrival and departure of Roman Empire, arrival of Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, arrival of Saint Augustine. Then we have invasion of Vikings. Then we have Norman conquest, feudalism, Renaissance, all these things, because these are the beginning periods in the world of English. In the world of European, sorry, English, that is Britain or British. So these are the histories, these are the backgrounds, and if you will learn this
Sir, English is started first in British.
first in British, let me talk about all these things. We are going to deal with this. Okay, yeah. So arrival of Celts. So before, no, let me tell you the background of that particular land that is now called England. Okay, so do you know why do we call that? No, do you know the difference between AD and BC? What is AD and BC? Here I have mentioned that.
AD after death, BC before Christ.
Okay, so after death, it's after Domini. Okay, Anno Domini, which means after the
After
birth. Anno Domini. It's
Domini.
it's a Latin term. Actually, it means Anno Domini, and which means after the birth of Jesus Christ.
Sure.
Yeah. So after the birth of Jesus Christ, we have 2020 years, isn't that?
And
That's what.
BC is before Christ, before the birth.
Yeah, before the birth of Christ. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So here we don't know that when did these people came to the land which is right now called Britain or England. Okay. England was a land before Christ. Okay, before Christ, England was an open land, and there were no such tribe, no people at all. At that time, people used to live their life, in a shifting cultivation. They shift from one place to another. They cultivate there. They, finish their foods over there, and then shift it to another place. So this is how actually the all cultures of human beings were actually going on during that period, some 2000 years ago. Okay, before the birth of Christ. Okay. So during that time, a tribe settled in that land called England right now. Okay, they settled there in an unknown time. Unknown time means the date is not fixed; it is not known to us. So they settled there, and these tribes are called Celts. Okay, who were they? They were called Celts or Celts. Okay, now these people started to live in that particular land, and these people were also known as Britons. What is the other name? That is Britons. Okay, these people were known as Britons. So from their name Brighton, the particular land has actually got its name, that is Britain. Okay, and when they were there, they had a particular language obviously with them. They were speaking, they were communicating with each other obviously with their language. So England, the present England that we're talking about, England or Britain or British land, okay, or United
Sir,
Kingdom.
just to repeat once again this sentence.
Which one?
Just now you explained.
Okay, so let me tell you once again, okay, that England was an open land. Okay, like in a field, you will not find anything else except grasses. Okay, except grasses and some heaps over there. Okay, so like that, it was a kind of jungle. The entire England was a jungle, and people were actually at the time were like they were like what can I say, that they were fighting with each other. They were like animals. They fight with each other. They settled in a particular place. They collect some food. They spend their time over there. They finish their food and settle in another place. Okay, so this was the circle actually going on during that period. That is some 2000 years ago. So they people somehow they entered into the land, which is right now is called, actually England. Okay, so they entered there, they settled there, and they found that land very fertile. Okay, so they settled for a long time over there. Okay, is it clear? Hello.
Yes, sir, we are listening you here.
Okay. So yeah, so they settled there, and they thought that okay, this land is very fertile, so they spent much time over there in that particular land for a long period of time. Okay, and this particular tribe, that is Celts, they were also known as Britons, Britons. Okay, so they were also known as Britons. So from their name, the land called Britain. Okay, so Britain, the name that is there, or it was earlier, it was called Britain, or United Kingdom of Britain, or Great Britain. So it is all because of this Celtics, because they were the first tribe who settled in that particular land. But what happened is that at the 43 AD, 43 AD means after the
Yes.
43 birthday, you can say, of Jesus Christ. Okay, Jesus Christ was born, and we counted our own calendar, like okay, 1 2 3 4, now we have 2022. So at 43 AD, the Roman Empire, okay, from Rome, they invaded that particular land where these Celtic people were living. Okay, they came and invaded, they attacked that particular Celtic peoples. And at that time, there was a tradition among the people that okay, we have to loot other peoples, okay, fight with other peoples, attack other peoples, and snatch away their properties. It could be food, it could be some other things like horses or other animals as well. Okay, so it was a kind of tradition. So Roman Empire captured the Celtic people, those who were there in Britain. Okay, they captured them, and they ruled over there. These Roman people ruled over there for almost 400 years. And within these 400s, they also developed a lot of things, because the Roman Empire, Roman civilization was much more civilized than English, because English was nothing at that time. And there was no actually existence of English at all at that time. Okay, so it was the Romans who were much more civilized, like the Greek civilization. Okay, so they came, they bring with them their own language, that is the Latin language. Okay, they taught the Celtic people language, because the Celtic people had no belief, no God at all. They were pagans. They actually adored some of the they sometimes you can say like that, uh, they believe that water is God, they believe that trees are God. Okay, so they were pagans, so they believe that everything is God. Okay, they find God in everything. So when this Roman people came, they taught them what is language. Okay, they taught them what is God. Okay, they bring with them Christianity, because whenever we talk about Christianity, it first actually transfer our mind to Rome, because the Rome was the hub of Christianity. Okay, the papal churches are there in Rome, that is in, and it was there in Latin, Hebrew languages. Okay, so they bring with them their culture, their language, their other ways of doing fighting or wars. Okay, so all these things were being taught to these Celtic peoples. But what happened is that, as I already mentioned, that there was a tradition that okay, people used to attack some lands and they loot them. So during the kingship of the Roman Empire, there were some other tribes which were also continuously attacking this particular land, that is England. Okay, and for that, this Roman Empire once built a big wall like the China Great Wall. Okay. So they built a big wall which is called Hadrian's Wall to protect them from the attacks of other tribes. But what happened is that England was not the only place where actually these kinds of attacks were going on. And Roman people were there in England for almost 400 years. So what happened is that some other tribes are also attacking Rome at that time. So what they used to do is that they told the Celtic peoples that okay, you take rule over your own country. We are getting back to our own country to save it, because some tribes are also attacking that. So we have to save our own home first, then to the home where we are actually ruling. So they leave that particular land in 410 AD, almost 400 years later. Okay, and right now what happened is that these Celtic peoples who were living like the what can I say, like farmers who were dependent upon the Roman people, because they believed that okay, they are the superiors, we are the inferiors. So they learned a lot of things, but they didn't know that how to live, how to run a government like as the Roman people were doing. So they felt so depressed, they felt so scattered that they tried to take help from some other tribes. And during that period, there were three great Germanic tribes, which are Angles, Saxons, and Jutes. Okay, are you there with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So they actually try to get help from Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, and they actually called them, and they again arrived in that particular land. But when these Angles, Saxons, and Jutes came into that land, that is England of Britain, they found that okay, Britain is a very fertile land, it's a very resourceful land, and the people, those who are there, are very poor. So they, instead of helping them, they started to ruling them again, like the Roman people were doing. So here Angles and Saxons, okay, they were from the northern Germany, and they bring again their languages. So first of all, here we had the language of the Celtic people, then Roman people came, okay, Roman people bring with it their own language. Then Angles, Saxons, and Jutes came from northern Germany, they also bring their own language. And the language of these Angles, okay, Angle was a tribe, Saxon was another tribe, and Jutes was another tribe. Tribe means is a kind, you can say in Hindi, mm, jati. Okay, like you can say Hindu is a jati, then Muslim, okay, Christian. So like that, Angle, Saxons, and Jutes were there, and they bring with them their own cultures, their language as well. Okay, they were called nomadic peoples or pagans. Okay, they do not believe in any particular god. So they came and they settled there, they ruled there, and what happened is that they at the time, gradually they actually uh, drive all these Celtic peoples out of this particular land, and they settled somewhere in you can say like at present Ireland, Scotland, okay, and in these places, Wales, in these places. So they drive them away, even though they were actually calling these Anglo-Saxons and Jews for help. They came here and they drive them away and become the landlords of that particular land. Okay, so this is how we get to know that okay, there are three languages right now, but we do not have any language. But these Angles, okay, the name that we have right now is English, actually came from these Angles. Okay, Angles land means England, Angles language means English. Okay, is it clear? So Angles land is called England, and Angles language is called English. Now what is this English? We will know it gradually. The next important event that happened during this time is the arrival of Saint Augustine. Saint Augustine was a kind of, you can say that, a priest or a pope that came in England during, after the, removal of the Roman Empire. So he also came from where? He came from Rome. What to do? He came in 597 AD to preach, or you can say the, or a missionary plan. He came to England to teach the people about Christianity, about God, about love and religion. Okay, so he came there, he converted most of the people of England into Christianity. Okay,
Yes,
and the
sir.
next, yeah, the next important thing that happened is that the influence of the Vikings. Viking is also a kind of tribe that came around almost 771 AD. They came and attacked the England, okay, the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, or twice, not only once. Okay, so they attacked twice. And the most important thing over here is that there was a king called King Alfred who fought against these Vikings, and he went twice. and that's why he is called the King Alfred the Great. These Viking peoples were very powerful, and it was King Alfred who fought against them, and he got victory twice, and that's why he is called as the Great. Okay, Alfred the Great in the history of English language, literature, and sociology. There was another important event, that is Norman conquest and feudalism. That is, Norman conquest actually happened in 10,066. Okay, this was also a great event, because here we will get to know that how Old English shifts from Anglo-Norman period actually started from closing the Anglo-Saxon period. Okay,
Is Norman the name, sir?
which one?
Norman is the name. Norman.
Norman is not a name. Okay, Norman actually, like the people of Norm. Okay, Normandy is called Norman. Like we people from India are called Indian. So like people of Normandy,
Acha, okay, okay.
yeah, they are called Norman. Yeah. So Normandy is a place where there was a king called uh, William William the Second of Normandy. Okay, he fought with the Anglo-Saxon kings. Okay, and he actually beheaded the head of Harold the First of Anglo-Saxon king, and then he became the actually king of England. Okay, as William the Conqueror. When he came from Normandy, he was the William the Second only. But when he actually became the king of England, he became William the Conqueror. Okay, and during this war, actually he brought with him know his cultures, his language as well. Now these Vikings people, these Danes people actually used to speak in the language French, because Normandy was a part of France. Okay, so they used to speak in French. Now we had Roman influence in English language, Celtic influence, Anglo-Saxon influence. Okay, then Christian influence was also there. Now we have French influence over there. Okay, so all these influences are actually going to make up a particular language that is called English language. Okay, so far we have Old English language that is made up of Celtic language, Roman language, Anglo-Saxon language. Okay, right now we do not have a particular fixed English language. So all these influences, even when Renaissance started. Okay, so what happened when Renaissance happened in 14th, 15th, and 16th century? People used to started reading text, those which has been written in other languages as well, especially the classical languages like Greek and Latin. So when they used to read them, they translated them, uh, they started writing as in their own forms and styles. So this is how Renaissance actually happens, the rebirth or reawakening about culture, art, language, and all these things. Okay, so this happened, and during this time there are some other influences that happen, like what I can say, that the emergence of printing press. Okay, that also happened, and this is how people used to print so many books as compared to the earlier times. So this is how language actually evolved and happened. Okay, now there are, and after these things we have to go through the three important periods that is important in the history of English language, and they are Anglo-Saxon period. Okay, Anglo-Saxon period. Yeah, that is Old English period, then Middle English period, and the Modern English period. Okay, so the Old English period that I have already talked about. Okay, recently, that spans from 600 to 1180. Okay, Middle English period, that is 1100 to 1580, and Modern English 1500 onwards to present day. Okay, that is today itself. You got it? So there are some other influences also in the in the making of this English language. And what are these two important recent historical developments? And one is this voyage, trade, and colonization. And we know it very clearly that okay, the English or British Raj is also a very important thing, and it's famous for making colonies, okay, in throughout the world. So they made so many colonies throughout the world. They settled in so many places, and one of them is obviously India, because they came here, they rule over us, they trade, they do their trade aids, they colonize us, they make their own businesses, and also they taught us their language. That's how we are actually speaking right now, isn't that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it was started with voyage, trade, and colonization. Okay. When they came here, they taught us their own language, and they also learned some languages from us. So this is the policy of exchange. They learned our language, some of the words, and we learned their languages. Okay. So this is how actually they also took some words from our language and put it as English language. So they took so many words from so many languages. Wherever they went, they not only loot that particular place in terms of some in terms of golds, in terms of other important valuable materials, metals, or you can say like money or other things. They also loot our languages as well. They loot it and placed it in their own dictionary and made it as their own. Okay. As for example, you can say like that lathi is a Hindi word, or you can say Bengali or Sanskrit word. Now this word is actually an English word. For example, biryani is a common word. It could be a Persian word. It could be a Hyderabadi word. But right now it is English word. Okay. So this is how they actually took languages or loan words from
Roman
other.
English.
What?
It's a Roman English word.
Roman.
Biryani. Biryani. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's how actually they took so many words, isn't that? There are so many things in Indian English language. If you'll find, there are so many regional words which can be found in English language, and day by day they are adding words from other languages. So this procedure is still going on. Okay. And now when this British colonies actually damaged, they become powerless from superpower. What happened is that globalization started with the power of USA, United States of America. Now they actually are ruling. They are ruling through globalization process. They are ruling in technology. Okay. Through technologies. Okay. So this is
Yes.
how they plays diplomacy, they plays language, plays with language, science, and policies, and they are ruling through, you know though they are not physically ruling, they are ruling through their minds. Okay. Now, in this study of the growth of English language, we find that there are three periods. One is Old English period, there is Middle English period, and Modern English period. And throughout all these three periods, there are so many changes from one period to another period, because the language that we are speaking right now is not as same as it was in Old English period. That is when the Anglo-Saxon people were there, the Celtic people were there. Their language was not as same as it is right now. A similar way, the Middle English period, in the Middle English period, the language is also different from Old English period, isn't that? A gradual changes actually made up. Earlier, what happened, almost like 10 years ago, we didn't have a sign language like that we use in shortcut forms in WhatsApp messages or in Instagram messages, isn't that? So that messages are now somehow going to be legalized after 20 years or 30 years. So they will impact the present English language, isn't that? So this is how languages differ from one period to another period. So from Old English period to Middle English, from Middle English to Modern English, language differ from three important level, and three of them are spelling, pronunciation, and grammar. Okay.
Yes,
Spelling.
sir.
Yes, we have 6 minutes. Let's try to bind it up. Okay. So spelling is one of that particular factor that actually changes from over period of time. Okay. uh, so understanding spelling, let's first understand what is the relationship between letters and sound. Okay. There is a obvious relationship between letters and sound, because when we will arrange some letters together, that will produce some kind of sound. But that relationship is arbitrary. Okay. That relationship is arbitrary. Arbitrary means there is no inherent relationship between the letters. If we will put three letters like CAT. Okay. CAT, what would be the sound?
Yes. Cat.
Cat, isn't it? So is there any relationship between these three letters and the sound cat? No, there is no relationship. Why? Because that can mean something else. If if I say that, okay, my name is Dilwar, okay, but if instead of Dilwar, if I will say that something else, okay, another name could be in place of Dilbar. So would I be changed, or would I be the same
No,
similar person? No. Yeah, that's
no.
why there is no inherent relationship between the letters and the sound. Okay, so that's why it is called that. Okay, it is arbitrary, illogical. There is no consistency and rather confusing. Okay, so there is no strict one-to-one correspondence between letters and their sounds. Thus, as for example, we can say that in English there are 44 sounds, isn't that? 24 consonant sounds and 20 vowel sounds, isn't that? So there are 44 sounds, but we can use these 44 sounds in almost 200 ways to spell them out. Okay, so that's why there is no relationship, not only in English language, in other languages also. If you will talk about an African languages, there are some 8 sounds only, but see, there is a complete African language. So if that particular 8 sounds, or if this particular 4 sounds has only put a particular 44 meanings, so we wouldn't have a complete English language. Now, right now, English has almost 1 billion words. Okay, out of these 44 sounds only. So this is how letters and sounds are not connected to each other. As for example, see the example here. The vowel sound E. Okay, the vowel sound E can be spelled in 8 different ways, such as in the words like meat, meat, sage, sage, polish, key, key, and people. ঠিক আছে? So
Yes, sir.
here, yes. So here you can see that there are only one sound, and it varies from words to words. Okay, it depends upon where we are placing it, where we are, is it in the beginning, in the middle, or in the end. Okay, what is the phonetical place of articulation, manner of articulation, and also glotis. So we will learn this gradually in the next upcoming blocks. We also have to talk about that. Okay, second example is there are many letters which are not pronounced as at all, like B in depth, lamb, and bombas. Okay, so B is silent in all these letters. Okay, so if there would be a relationship between letters and sound, then why this letter is silent? Isn't that? Some in some examples, GH is a
Bombers, sir. B is not silent. No, bombers.
bombers. We B is here silent. We do not pronounce B.
In middle B.
Yeah, middle B. Middle B will not be pronounced. It's bombers, not bombers. Okay. Like
Okay.
debt, we simply say debt. It's not debt, it's debt. Okay. Debt means to borrow someone or borrow something or money from somebody. Isn't that?
Loan.
Yeah, loan. You can say loan in present fact. Okay. So these are the spelling problems of spelling. Okay. This is how actually one the language is one, but based on periods, times. Okay, it changes over periods of times. Okay, so based on spelling, we have seen over here. Okay, there are other some things like, okay, that the major reason behind this discrepancy. Now, why such kind of things actually happen with the spelling and the letter and the sounds? This is only because of two things. One is sorry, two things. Let me tell you that the discrepancy actually between letters and sounds, spelling and pronunciation, a continuous change English language has gone through. Okay. However, okay, so these discrepancies are happening all because of
The time is up. It's alarm for literary criticism subject. Other subject time.
okay, literary criticism. Okay, so we'll continue this 2 or 3 slides tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
tomorrow
Thank
we'll
you, sir.
also yeah, also to, and please, if you able to convey other students, you please tell them to join the classes. Okay, otherwise they
Yeah,
will.
I made one group because I don't have anyone in the group. Only 2 students were there. They are
Okay,
my. I
if it
meet
is
them in
possible for
the
you, yeah,
university.
yeah,
Only
if it
two
is
students I inform. Others I don't know what's their number.
okay, if it is possible for you, then
Okay.
please, yeah, please.
Okay, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
be attentive. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you.